Thanks again for watching. I'm Joris Huib, Business Development Manager at Fondo.
Hi, and I'm Huib Dijkstra, Senior End-User Computing Specialist at VMware. In this video, we're going to discuss setting up role-based access, for example, creating an admin group for your application delivery admins, and we're going to discuss SaaS applications and how to configure them. So let's dive in.
So in our previous episode, we made applications available both from the public and private app store. For larger companies, those roles will be handled by an application administrator. You can give them access to your Workspace ONE UEM environment, where they can upload applications, configure them, and make sure they have the rights. So Huib, can you create a role for our application administrators?
Yeah, so if you want to create a role for our application administrators, you can actually go to Accounts, Administrators, and then select Roles. Here you get an overview of all the standard roles that are provisioned within Workspace ONE. These are roles managed by VMware, and you can check if there's a role suitable for your use case. So in our case, for example, application management. So when I select this role, and for our use case, I'm going to select apps and books because that's the part we're most interested in. And then here I can check in the right screen if all the appropriate access and rights are set for this profile. So I want to make sure that a application administrator can upload, review, and assign applications. So check, that's in. That he or she can do application wrapping. That's also available to this role. And then I can check if all the, for example, public store integrations are accessible for this role. So this all looks good. So we're going to select this role for a use case. However, if you have a use case different than ours and you can't find a standard role that suits your use case, you can also create a custom role. Here you are fully in charge of the rights and privileges a user gets when he gets this role assigned to his or her account. So you can modify it by opening up the content tabs and then select if he or she can read or even edit the configuration element. Please be aware if there are new features released to the platform that you need to add these to your custom roles. We're going to use the application management role. So for this, I'm going to go over to users and accounts. I'm going to click administrators and then I'm going to select admin groups. So I'm going to select add admin group and I'm going to search for the Active Directory group we created earlier. So we created a Active Directory group called app admins. And I'm going to enable add group members automatically. This way, when we add an admin to the Active Directory group, he will automatically be added within Workspace ONE to this group, and eventually we'll have automatically that role we selected earlier. So next I'm going to switch to roles, the tab roles, and I'm going to add a role for the Fondo Tech organizational group, and I'm going to select the application management role we selected earlier. Next up, I'm going to select save, and I'm going to actually log off out of my own account, and I'm going to log on with the account of the application administrator and the password. So I'm getting prompted to create a PIN because this is the first time logging on under this account. And as you can see, this account has limited functionality. So it might be worth changing his default home screen to, for example, the apps and book page where this role has been specifically created for. So, and as you can see, I'm missing a whole bunch of the other settings you would normally have under the console administrator account. So this is how you add a specific role or a specific admin group with certain roles to the configuration of your environment. I almost forgot. Here's a small tip for you. If you're waiting on the synchronization, you can actually select the admin group and press sync. And if you're missing users, you can press the group again or select the group again, select more actions, and then select add missing users. This way you don't have to wait for the synchronization of Workspace ONE to finish before testing the scenario.
So in the last episode, we added public and internal applications to Workspace ONE and integrated with Horizon. The last type of application that we're going to use are Saas applications. A Saas application is an online service from a third party that gives you a web interface to consume this. Examples of Saas applications are Office 365, Bamboo HR, and Dropbox. You can either use basic authentication in those services, so a separate username and password, or you can use SAML authentication. So SAML authentication is an XML-based framework which is used by Workspace ONE Access. Workspace ONE Access gets an authentication token from Active Directory and offers this securely to your Saas application. Huib will now demonstrate how this will work when you use Dropbox.
So before we can set up any single sign-on or identity verification, you first need to verify your domain. So if you're going to do this for the first time, there's actually a wizard that will guide you through verifying your first domain name. As you can see, we've already verified ours, as it takes some time for the DNS to update the records. So we've done this previously. So I'm going to go back to settings, and you can do the same if your domain has been verified. And then you're going to go to authentication and select single sign-on. So to start using single sign-on, you're first going to select the drop-down menu beside single sign-on. And eventually we want to have it set to required. So there's always a single sign-on required. However, during configuration, I advise you to set it to optional, as if you run into trouble and you accidentally log off, you still have access using the password of the admin account. So for now, I'm going to set this to optional. And next, we're going to provide the single sign-on, sign-in, and sign-out URL. This is used when you go to Dropbox and you put down your name. It's actually going to say, or you're going to be authenticated using Workspace ONE Access. So it's going to redirect your authentication. To get the URLs, I'm actually going to go to the Workspace ONE Access console. Going to go to the catalog and select Web Applications. And then I'm going to select Settings. And I guess there's an easier way, but this is just how I've always done this. I'm selecting the identity provider metadata, and out of this XML file, and some web applications even accept this XML file, so you can import all the settings at once. But I usually get the URLs out of here. So for the sign-in service, you can find it here at the bottom. So it's /SAAS/auth/federation/single sign-on, or SSO. I'm going to copy this URL and I'm going to put it into the Dropbox configuration. And I'm also going to grab the log off information, or the URL for log off. And I'm going to put that in as well. Next, I'm going to download the certificate for signing. I'm going to do that here. And I'm going to upload that specific certificate to the configuration. And if you're configuring the Dropbox integration from scratch, you can select copy. However, VMware actually provides a template for you to use, so we're going to use that. So I'm done making all the changes to Dropbox. So I'm selecting save. And now we can switch over to either the Workspace ONE UEM console or the Workspace ONE Access console. So for now, as we just created a new role, I'm going to go to the Workspace ONE UEM console. So as you can see, we're logged on as one of the application administrators in the apps and books section. And here I'm going to select web application instead of native applications. So as you can see, and as Joris described earlier, you can either add a web application without authentication using web links, or one with integration with, for example, SAML. So I'm selecting a Saas application. Here I'm selecting a new. And I'm actually going to search in the provided templates from VMware for Dropbox. I'm going to select Dropbox. Check if the name is correct. Maybe even select the category and select next. Next, I'm going to check if all the automatically filled in information is correct. So it's using SAML 2.0. It's using the single sign-on URL from Dropbox. So this is the other way around. This is for Workspace ONE to have the correct logon link where it's going to use SAML authentication. I'm going to check if the user format is correct, which it is in our case. And if everything is correct, I'm going to select next. I'm going to use our default access policy set. And I'm going to select save and assign. And I'm going to assign this application to all users. And select save. So next up, I'm going to test this. A great way for testing things while you're changing configuration is using the incognito tabs. This way you don't have any cache drawbacks or issues that you're still signed on under different accounts. So instead of testing this with my admin account, I'm going to test this with my normal username. And as you can see, single sign-on is enabled. So if I select continue, and I'm not logged on to Workspace ONE Access at this moment, so I'm getting redirected to Workspace ONE Access, where I first need to authenticate before accessing Dropbox. And as you can see, I'm logged on under the correct user account. So that's the first part of the test done. Next, I'm going to go to our identity manager. I'm going to go to the apps section and check if our link here works correctly as well. Which it does. All right, so that's how you add a web SaaS application with integrated authentication using SAML with Workspace ONE Access. So Joris, we've just added Dropbox for Business with integrated authentication to our Workspace ONE environment. Our admin console, that's basically a SaaS application as well. Can we integrate that using single sign-on to this environment as well?
Yes, that's possible. We can use Workspace ONE Access to authenticate to Workspace ONE UEM. We already did this in one of the previous episodes for enrollment of a mobile device. I'll show you how to use this for the admin console. So when I now log on to Workspace ONE UEM, I need to manually fill in my credentials. This experience we would like to improve and make it more secure. Therefore, we want to use SAML to authenticate logging into Workspace ONE UEM through Workspace ONE Access. So I need to modify a setting in Workspace ONE UEM. I'll go to the Enterprise Integration Settings and Directory Services. This is where we, in the previous episode, configured the SAML authentication for enrollment. Now we need to check the admin SAML authentication, and at the bottom press Save. That's the only thing we need to do in UEM. And then I need to go to Workspace ONE Access to add this as an application as well. So go to the catalog. And as you just saw, Huib was using Workspace ONE UEM to add Dropbox. This is also visible within Workspace ONE Access. And in the same manner, I'm going to add Workspace ONE Admin Console. I can browse for the catalog for a default set of settings, and here I can select AirWatch Admin. I prefer the username Workspace ONE UEM Admin, so that's something I want to change. We can put this in the recommended category. Press Next. And here you'll see all the default settings already put in by Workspace ONE Access. It, for example, shows the variable username to be used, and it gives me an overview of the parameters I need to fill in. So these three values should be enough. So it's asking for our server name, which is the CN1300. It's asking for our group ID, which is fondo.tech. And it's asking for the audience, which is always the word AirWatch. So this should be enough to make this functional. Press next, accept the default access policy set, press save and assign. And instead of assigning this to a group, I'm going to assign this to the 2 admins that can use this. I'm going to press save. I'm logged on as an admin, so I can now switch to user portal and the application should be there. So the application is here, and now I can press Workspace ONE UEM admin. It's not logging on, and that's something that can happen when you're using a SAML configuration. There are tools to help you troubleshoot that. One of them is a browser plugin called SAML Tracer. This is a plugin which is available for every major browser. So what we can do is close this tab, pull in the SAML Tracer, and as you can see it's already collecting information. We're going to press Workspace ONE UEM admin again. And if you look in the SAML Tracer, it's getting all kinds of information. So you can press pause. So if you see in this case, the orange name SAML, you can click on it for more information. And in the bottom, if you go to SAML Auto Summary, you see, for example, that this is the SAM account name, which is pushing to our Workspace ONE UEM environment. We're not using SAM account name, we're using user principal name, which gives us our username, including our domain extension. So this is why the logon isn't working. We'll clear this, close these screens, and go back to the admin console to do some modifications. Go to the catalog again for our Workspace ONE UEM admin. Press edit. And as you can see, it's getting the variable username. And if we open advanced properties and scroll down, we see that username is being filled by SAM account name. We need to modify that the variable SAM account name will be filled in to the user principal name. And we also need the object GUID, which has the variable user object GUID.
So Joris, these are attributes which get sent along with the SAML authentication token.
Yeah. The reason it went wrong the first time is that it was sending SAM account name, which isn't the correct variable we're expecting. So in this case, we modified the variable to use the user principal name.
So viewers of this video might have the same issue, but might need to provide different types of attributes with their SAML authentication.
Yeah, could be. Most of the modern Active Directory type instances use user principal name. Some older ones use SAM account name. So it depends on your system, but such a tool as SAML Tracer can really be your friend in troubleshooting these issues. So I'm going to press save. Well, my application was updated. So in my browser, I've closed all the other tabs that were going to Workspace ONE UEM, so I can test this function properly. I'll select Workspace ONE console, and you'll see without using another password, it'll automatically sign me into Workspace ONE UEM. So now we've enabled SAML authentication for an enrollment of a new mobile device, and we're using SAML authentication to log on to Workspace ONE UEM through Workspace ONE Access.
All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. In the next video, we're going to discuss Office 365. We're going to enable single sign-on to Office 365, but with a twist. We're going to add user provisioning to that configuration. We're going to deploy the native apps of Office, and we're going to discuss data loss prevention with both email and content. So for email, we're going to configure Workspace ONE Boxer, and for content, we're going to integrate OneDrive with Workspace ONE content.
Nou, kom maar dan. Kom op. Oh, kind. Kun je daar kijken? Past niet. Lara, ga hem af. So thanks all. So on behalf of Lara and myself, thanks for watching and see you next time. Nou, dat is ook niet aardig uit.
See you next time.